FPL managers for Game Week 29. I told you Semenyo, Dewsbury Hall, and Bruno Fernandes were good options to have as captaincy choices, and these players gave good returns to every FPL manager who had them for FPL Game Week 29. So for Game Week 30, I'm also going to give you a list of players who would also be good options for your captaincy choice. I want you to stay tuned as we do get into it. But before we do get into it, kindly like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Let's know who your captaincy choice is also going to be. So as I said, FPL Game Week 30 is almost upon us. Gradually, we are getting to the end of the season. So you'd want to make sure your transfers are on point, your tips, you are using them at the right time, and of course, your captaincy choice is always on point. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few tips to consider for FPL Game Week 30. So let's start with the fixtures. Let's see how the fixtures are going for FPL Game Week 30. It starts on Saturday, so it's going to be Burnley, they take on Bournemouth. We're also going to have Sunderland, they take on Brighton and Hove Albion. Then we have Arsenal v Everton. Then Chelsea, they take on Newcastle. Then we have the end of the round for tomorrow. That is West Ham, they take on City. Then on Sunday, we have Crystal Palace v Leeds. We have Manchester United, they take on Aston Villa. We have Nottingham Forest against Fulham. Then Everton against Spurs. Liverpool against Spurs, the big game of the round. Then on Monday, we have Bedford against Wolves. So that's how it's looking for the fixtures for the game week. So you'd want to also consider that. So let's go through a few player stats and see. So the most selected players so far, we have the likes of Haaland, we have Semenyo, we have Joao Pedro, we have Gabriel, we have Bruno Fernandes, and quite a few other players. So these players, when it comes to selection amongst FPL managers in general, they are ranking the top most. So we'll see for the game week the players leading the chart. So we have Joao Pedro leading the chart for the game week in terms of most transferred in. We have the likes of Senise, we have Anderson, we have Bruno Fernandes, we have Semeno. And you should also take note that for game week 31, we are going to have some teams blanking. So you'd want to be very cautious bringing them in for your game week 30 unless you have a chip that you could use your free hits for game week 31. So if you'd want to bring them in, you could consider it that way. Else you'd want to be very cautious as you have City blanking, you have Crystal Palace blanking, we'll also be seeing Arsenal blanking and quite some. And so you'd want to be very cautious with your selection. So these are some of the players leading the charts when it comes to most transferred in. You'd want to consider your ICT to get a very good selection, as some of these players would give you very good points, of course, heading into the game week. So that is it for player stats. Look at all of that, and you could easily get a good selection for your team. So for the FDL, very important, you'd want to consider that, as I said, some teams are blanking. You have Arsenal, you have Crystal Palace, you have City, you also have Wolves. They will all be blanking for game week 31. So you want to be cautious when it comes to your transfers. And whenever you make your transfer, you also want to consider this to know the kind of players to have. So you don't want to bring in probably a Nottingham Forest player thinking they have a good match against Fulham. Then after they take on Tottenham, they take on Aston Villa. It's going to be very tricky for you. You don't want to bring a Spurs player because they have Nottingham Forest after Liverpool, but they'll be taking on Sunderland. So you'd want to consider all these things when it comes to transfers and know how you go about it. Very important to look at it. So that's how it's looking for the FDR as well. We'll go into the team review and some captaincy choices. Very simple. This game week has to be very simple. You should also take note that you have Champions League along the line, so some players would be very cautious. Some managers will want to be very diplomatic with their selection. But it looks like the first round went against most of the EPL teams. So most managers would want to play safe and just focus, not lose their run in the EPL and also go and lose in the Champions League. So it could be a plus for you here as well. So for the team review, This is my team for game week 30. Not so many, no transfers, just the same team. I gave the armband to Haaland, no changes so far. I still have that yellow caution on Wilson, so hopefully he starts. We can get some good returns from him as well. So no transfers for this game week, very basic team heading into the game week. So for captaincy choices, you should also consider these players. I gave the armband to Haaland, so most definitely you should consider Haaland as your captain. You could also consider Higo Ekitike from Liverpool as a good captaincy choice. And for differentials, you could consider Travenier from Bournemouth and also Ismail Assar from Crystal Palace, as these players are bound to give you some good points for the game week. This is game week 30. I hope for greens for all.